The deep state is alleged to be a group of influential anti-democratic coalitions within the Turkish political system, composed of high-level elements within the intelligence services, Turkish military, security, judiciary, and mafia. The notion of deep state is similar to that of a state within the state. For those who believe in its existence, the political agenda of the deep state involves an allegiance to nationalism, corporatism, and state interests. Violence and other means of pressure have historically been employed in a largely covert manner to manipulate political and economic elites and ensure specific interests are met within the seemingly democratic framework of the political landscape. Former President Süleyman Demirel says that the outlook and behavior of the elites who constitute the deep state, and work to uphold national interests, are shaped by an entrenched belief, dating to the fall of the Ottoman Empire, that the country is always on the brink. The ideology of the deep state is seen by leftists as being anti-worker or ultra-nationalist, by Islamists as being anti-Islamic and secularist, by ethnic Kurds as being anti-Kurdish, and by liberal Democrats as anti-democratic and anti-liberal. As pointed out by former Prime Minister Bülent Ecevit, the diversity of opinion reflects a disagreement over what constitutes the deep state. One explanation is that the deep state is not an alliance, but the sum of several groups that antagonistically work behind the scenes, each in pursuit of its own agenda. Another explanation refutes the reduction of the deep state to an interest network and defines it as a type of domination based on the high military autonomy levels that enable the security apparatus to disrupt formal democratic institutions by employing a sui generis repertoire of informal institutions, i.e., putsch threat, autocratic cliques, mafia, organized crime and corruption. Rumors of the deep state have been widespread in Turkey since Ecevit's term as prime minister in the 1970s. After his revelation of the existence of a Turkish counterpart to Italy's Operation Gladio, the counter-guerrilla, many Turks, including elected politicians, have stated their belief that the deep state exists. More recently, the term deep state has been used to describe politics in other nations including Egypt and the United States. Background: Ottoman Empire. Turkish secret societies date back to the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Selim III, for example, founded a secret committee, essentially a personal army to protect himself since he had been attacked following the wars against Russia and Austria of 1787 to 1792. Even his second-in-command, the Grand Vizier, remained unaware. One infamous hitman, Yakup Kemal, was employed by the state, and shot on Enver Pasha's command after he was no longer needed. Some say that these societies were instrumental in Turkification following the demise of the Ottoman Empire. The secret policy of Turkification was allegedly carried out by covert groups in order for its instigators not to be discovered. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk availed himself of secret societies that today would be considered special forces units to further the Republican cause. Some hold that today's alleged deep state is a continuation of these societies. Counter-guerrilla. After World War II, an organized and institutionalized form of the deep state was set up with American guidance to counter a possible Soviet invasion. Under the Special Warfare Department, the OHD, termed the Turkish Gladio by some, was described by its former leader Kemal Yamik as a stay-behind resistance group. Speaking to Diyar Sazik of the Daily Milliyet, former Republican People's Party representative Süleyman Genc said that the OHD exerted such influence that it hampered the Turkish armed forces, and identified the OHD as the core of the deep state. Genc pressed for a parliamentary inquiry on the phenomenon in 1978, but party chairman and Prime Minister Bülent Ecevit insisted he drop the matter. After talking to the OHD chief, Kemal Yamik, who said that the OHD would not interfere in civilian affairs and that politicians should not probe further, Genk's house in Kariagdi Street, Ankara was subsequently bombed on 5 January 1979. Murat Belge of Istanbul Bilgi University says that the deep state became increasingly active during the multi-party period, as factions within the state vied for power. Grey Wolves Kendal Nezin of the Kurdish Institute of Paris said that Abdullah Katlai, a Grey Wolves leader who was killed in the Suzer-Luk car crash, is reckoned to have been one of the main perpetrators of underground operations carried out by the Turkish branch of the Gladio organization and had played a key role in the bloody events of the period 1976 to 1980, which paved the way for the military coup d'état of September 1980. As the young head of the far-right Grey Wolves militia, he had been accused, among other things, of the murder of 7 left-wing students. Katlai was seen in the company of Avanguardia Nazionale founder Stefano Del Chiesa, while touring Latin America and on a visit to Miami in September 1982. Apart from Katlai, ultra-nationalists used by the Turkish intelligence agencies included Mehmet Ali Agca, Haluk Kurtçi, Ibrahim Ciftcr, Tugay Marislay, Yahya Fa, Oral Selik, Mehmet Seno, Alaaddin Kakasai, Nurila Tevfik Agansoy, Ali Yasik, Abuzar Uğurlu, and Bekir Salenk. In the 1990s, these people, who maintained contacts among security forces, were involved in various illegal activities which were uncovered during the 1996 Suzer-Luk scandal. 1990s onwards. In 1992, the commander of the OHD, General Kemal Yilmaz, declared that the Special Department was still active in the Kurdish-Turkish conflict. Formations such as the Dogu Çalışma Grubu, Parti Çalışma Grubu and TUSHAD are alleged by various sources to have continued clandestine work in the military and beyond. These groups have broadly aimed to defend Turkey against Islamism and separatism, but links with ultra-nationalist-linked mafia groups have also been seen, and links with Kurdish groups such as Kurdish Hizbullah. These various groups may have links with the Ergenekon organization pursuing a similar agenda in matters such as the 2003 sledgehammer coup plan, but the details are unclear. In 2008, dozens were indicted and arrested in the Ergenekon investigation for conspiring to oust the Justice and Development Party in 2009. Ex-Special Forces soldier Ayhan Karkan, who worked for Deep State, claimed that Deep State was behind the Basbigla massacre. Acknowledgement of its existence. The first to publicly point at the existence of an influential, secret coalition, was Prime Minister Bülent Ecevit, who in 1974 revealed the counter-guerrilla. Until then, the United States had been funding the Special Warfare Department under Joint United States Military Mission for Aid to Turkey program, a Truman Doctrine-based initiative. When annual aid negotiations fell through, the commander of the OHD, General Kemal Yamik, asked General Semi Sankar, then the Chief of General Staff, to ask Ecevit for a slush fund of $1 million. It was at that point Ecevit learned of its existence, and demanded a briefing. His inquisitiveness and attempt to rein in the organization resulted in an assassination attempt at Izmir Airport in 1977. In his memoirs, Yamik said that Ecevit's party itself contained OHD operatives, who were selected and educated at a young age by the Chief of Staff. When Ecevit obliquely asked Yamik about the extent of the party's infiltration, Yamik told him not to worry, as the boys were upright and specially educated. Does that not make them better members of parliament? Besides, have any of them been implicated in a scandal? Former President and General Kenan Evren, who led the 1980 military coup, related in his memoirs a meeting with the then Prime Minister Suleiman Demirel on May 5, 1980. stating that Demirel asked him to use the staff of the OHD in the fight with the terrorists, apparently hinting at the incident in Kızılderili village. On March 30, 1972, Kenan Evren refused, stating that he would not allow renewed rumors about counter-guerrillas. Kenan Evren made similar remarks in the Daily Hurriyet of November 26, 1990. Meanwhile, former Prime Minister Tansu Çiller embraced both those who died for the state and those who killed for the state as heroes. Former President Süleyman Demirel described the deep state as synonymous with the military, incapable of subordinating the legitimate state in times of turbulence. Kenan Evren himself confirmed the suspicions, in an interview with journalist Yavuz Donat. The newest allegation comes from the current Prime Minister, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. In the television show İşgal Sankak on Turkish TV channel Kanal 7 on 26 January 2007, he stated his belief in the existence of the deep state. "I don't agree with those who say the deep state does not exist. It does exist. It always has, and it did not start with the Republic, it dates back to Ottoman times. It's simply a tradition. It must be minimized, and if possible even annihilated." Some see the Ergenekon investigations, under Erdogan's watch, as the execution of this purge. Organizations. The following clandestine organizations, some of which may be defunct, are sometimes associated with the deep state: Operations Department, Special Forces Command, Special Warfare Department, Tactical Mobilization Group, Counter-Guerrilla, Gendarmerie Intelligence and Counter-Terrorism Service, Ergenekon, Turkish Revenge Brigade. Incidents. A number of incidents have fueled the discussion on the deep state. Some of them have since been traced to the counter-guerrilla, which led a covert war against communism. A few of the rest are. Susurluk scandal. The Susurluk scandal developed after a car accident on 3 November 1996 near Susurluk in Balıkesir province. In this accident, former Deputy Chief of Istanbul Police Hüseyin Kokadag, the leader of the Grey Wolves Abdullah Katlay, and a woman named Goncaris died. DYP Sanliurfa MP Sedat Bukak, who was also the leader of a large group of village guards in Severek, was injured. Curiously, Katlay was carrying a fake passport under the alias Mehmet Ozbey, the very same alias used by Mehmet Ali Agca, the assassin who had shot Pope John Paul II. This coalition exposed the connections between the security forces, politicians and organized crime, and led to the resignation of Interior Minister Mehmet Agar of the True Path Party. A parliamentary investigation commission established after the accident published a 350-page report in April 1997. The Commission's report maintained that the state organs used the Grey Wolves and that some state forces initiated the right-left conflicts in the 1970s. Nuri'la Tevfik Agansoy, who was the hitman of one of the Ulkuku mafia leaders, Alaaddin Kakasai, had made statements claiming the involvement of Özal family in the Sivangate scandal, which led to a war of words between himself and Kakasai. The duel was concluded in September this year in Babik, Istanbul, with Agansoy's assassination but the hitman's death only to lead more scandalous question marks. Two special protection officers of Deputy Prime Minister Çiller, who were with Agansoy during the incident, were also killed in the shooting. Their presence has not been explained. Dinli Incident. On 9 November 2005, a bookstore was bombed in Dinli district, Hakkari province, killing one man and injuring others. The owner of the bookstore spent 15 years in prison for providing logistical help to the Kurdistan Workers' Party. This was 18th bombing in the province since July. Local people caught the attackers, who turned to be two non-commissioned army officers and a former PKK militant on the payroll of the Turkish Gendarmerie. The PKK turncoat threw two hand grenades into the bookstore. The incident attracted huge media attention and created a public uproar. In response, the government promised that all individuals responsible for the attack would be identified and punished. The 3 suspects were later charged, tried and convicted at a civilian court. They each received around 40 years of prison sentences. The stakes of the legal process suddenly increased when prosecutor Fahad Sarakaya, who prepared the original indictment, alleged that there were connections between high-ranking military officers and suspects. Gendarmerie sergeants Ali Kaya, Özkan Ildeniz and Veysel Atsis, the PKK turncoat. However, his investigation was cut short. In reaction to this indictment, the High Council of Judges and Prosecutors in the Ministry of Justice dismissed him from the profession and disqualified him from working as a lawyer. In September 2007, the case was transferred to a military court and the 3 suspects were released and returned to their official positions. The legal process following the incident showed that lower courts can play a crucial role in holding security forces responsible for human rights violations and provide access to politically weak groups, despite the resistance of the high judiciary. Yet, the government failed to fulfill its initial promises and did not provide protection to the lower courts that remained under immense pressure from the high judiciary and military command. Assaults on Cumhuriyet and the Council of State. In 2006, a secularist judge in the Turkish Council of State was shot dead, and the Istanbul office of the Cumhuriyet newspaper was attacked by grenade. Appearing before court, a president of a chapter of the nationalist Ülkü Ocaklari named Alparslan Arslan said he had committed both crimes. Arslan added that the next targets were well-known journalist Mehmet Ali Barand and popular game show host Mehmet Ali Erbil. Arslan claimed to have planned the assaults himself, however this was cast into doubt in 2007, when a gang allegedly conspiring to overthrow the Islamist-rooted Justice and Development Party was uncovered. A year later, prosecutors indicted 86 high-ranking suspects, and Alparslan Arslan, who was said to be working for the gang. The charges range from possession of firearms to running an armed terrorist organization, including both of Arslan's attacks. The bombing of the newspaper was previously thought to be the work of Islamic fundamentalists, but is now described as part of the first stage of Ergenekon's campaign to stoke division and unrest. The group's motives are currently unclear, but it has been said that they sought to sever Turkey's ties with the West. Russian ideologue Alexander Dugin described them as pro-Russian. Hrant Dink assassination. Hrant Dink, an ethnic Armenian journalist, was killed on 19 January 2007 outside the office of his newspaper Agos. The juvenile killer Ergun Samast was later arrested with the weapon in Samsun. After his arrest, a video clip was released showing him posing with 2 police officers in front of and holding the Turkish flag. Among the suspects believed to have assisted Ergun Samast was Erhan Tuncel. On 7 February 2007, the Anchor news agency reported on the ties of Tuncel to nationalist circles and the fact that he had been working as a police informer and staff member of the Gendarmerie's intelligence service, JITEM.